my prayerful salutations at Bhagwan's lotus feet, and a big thank you to all of you for giving me an opportunity to come here to be able to share some of my experiences I've had with Swami over all these years. I'm sure all of us carry those experiences, but these experiences have taught me, have molded me into what I am today, and most importantly, taught me that God is the only friend we have, the truest friend we can ever have. Nobody's life is ever a bed of roses. All of us have our problems, all of us have our sad moments, all of us have our happy moments, but the only person who stands by you through thick and thin is God. Whichever God you may believe in, for me it is Satya Sai Baba. And I was fortunate to be born into a family which believed in Satya Sai Baba, starting going back to the 1960s, when it was my paternal grandparents. They were in Swami, my paternal grandmother actually. She was an ardent devotee of Swami. And there used to be many times when Vibhuti used to start flowing from the pictures in her house. And my grandfather, being a dentist, and he used to be very skeptical about the whole thing, not believing in Swami. And this, again, I'm talking about the 1960s. So one fine day, there was Vibhuti coming on the photos, and there was a long queue of people outside their house. Most of them had come to see it out of curiosity. Some had come out of, to see ki ye kya tamasha hai. And some of them had come to witness a divine occurrence, because in those days, nothing like this was ever heard of in the society or in the colony in which they were living. And as I said just now, my grandfather, he kept away from all this. And when he was returning from the hospital that afternoon, a vegetable vendor met him at the gate of the house, and he told him that आपके घर में विभूति आया, आप उस भगवान को मानते हैं? So my grandfather just shrugged and said yes, and he couldn't care less, and he walked back into the house. That was it. After 4 days, again a person, this time he was a bakery man. In those days, those people used to come and sell their bakery items, the bread, etc., on cycles, and ring the bell to catch the attention of the house owners. So this bread man rang the bell of his bicycle at the gate of my grandparents' house, and my grandfather came out. And this bread man, he had just the same 2 sentences to say, that आपके घर में विभूति आया, आप उस भगवान को मानते हो कि नहीं? My grandfather again took it as, पता नहीं who is this, and he just said yes, and he walked back into the house. Now this was repeated after 5-6 days, now with the man, with a vendor who had come with a sack of puffed rice on his shoulder, on his back. He came and he shouted from the gate, and my grandfather went out and he said, आपके घर में सब्जी वाला आया, आपके घर में ब्रेड वाला आया, और अभी भी आप उस भगवान को नहीं मानते हो? My grandfather was taken aback. He went into the house to call my grandmother, and by the time they came out, this man had just vanished into thin air. And that was the time I think my grandfather realized that this is no other than Satya Sai Baba, who has, but otherwise, how else would this puffed rice man know that earlier also 2 other people had visited him with the same message with which he had come to give. And then onwards, there was no turning back for my grandfather. He became such a follower of Swami that during the bhajan sessions, he would actually be able to see Swami walking in the passage, walking along the aisle. He would get up and he would kneel down, and the people around would ask him that, why are you doing that? And he would look around and say, see, I can see Swami standing here. Can't you see? So that was the sort of devotion he developed towards Swami, and to such an extent that he used to write letters to Swami, and Swami would answer back. And all those letters my grandfather had kept very safely. But after my grandfather passed away, when they had shifted from Jamshedpur to Delhi, those letters were just untraceable. So that was how I think Swami was introduced to our family, and he made sure that all of us came in his fold. And this is, again, I'm saying 1960s, when Swami was just around, I think, 40, 42 years of age. And this all occurred, this was before my father got married. He was in the US that time pursuing his higher studies. And after my mother got married into this family, she saw my grandmother praying to Swami, and she also developed such a bond with him. And she felt so attracted to Swami and his picture, because that time they had not even been to Puttaparthi. And she slowly started getting into the fold of Swami, and she became the state coordinator of Bihar for Bal Vikas. And she would go around taking camps and teaching the Bal Vikas gurus and teaching them storytelling and the bhajan sessions and all that. And she had developed a cyst on her ovary. And 9 years she continued suffering with the gynec related issues which come with the cyst on the ovary. But she would keep on going to conduct all these camps. And one fine day, the doctors told her that, see, now you're approaching 40, and this is going to turn cancerous because you have waited too long. So you need to come now and we'll get you operated. She went to the hospital, and they had to carry out the CT scan. And just that day, a new machine had come to the hospital. They carried out the CT scan and they couldn't find the cyst. So they thought that maybe there is some sort of technical glitch because it's a new machine. So they carried out other tests, including injecting a dye into her system to be able to make out where the cyst was, because the cyst was a size of an orange and it couldn't have been missed in these tests. And to their surprise, they didn't find the cyst even after doing those tests. So they asked my mother to go back. And she came back home. And that night, Swami came in a dream and he said, I had given you a life only till here, but now I have cancelled your cancer. So these were the things we had read about in books. And this was something which was happening in front of my eyes. I was in college that time in Anandpur. And when my mother told me this, I couldn't believe this, because for 9 years where a cyst was there giving us so much of problem, where did it all go? It was only the mercy of Bhagwan Baba, who, I think, when he says you take one step towards me, I will take 100 towards you. So probably because she was involved in doing his work, he must have taken pity on her, and out of his boundless love, he must have just erased the karmic effect which she had to otherwise undergo. Now, this was about my parental background. Coming to my schooling, I was fortunate to join Baba's school in grade 9. And as children there, all of us, we used to feel homesick many times. And for me, I had gone from North India to South India. The food, everything was very different. It took me time to adjust. And I still remember till date, Muni auntie, who is the principal of the school there, one day she was taking a prayer assembly for us. And she said that when you feel homesick, do you realize how lucky you are to be able to breathe the same air which Baba is breathing? That was one sentence which kind of stayed in my mind. And even after 35 years or 30 years today, that sentence just doesn't go out from my mind. And how lucky are we, and all of us, who managed to reach Puttaparthi and to be able to breathe in that same air which Baba was breathing, and has made that center, made Puttaparthi full of life, full of love, full of his light. And people from all over the world come there to just to experience that light and his love. So how fortunate are we? Many a times we don't realize what we are sometimes given on a golden, on a platter. It's only later when something is snatched away from us, or later, it sometimes doesn't strike us then. But at a later moment, we realize how lucky and fortunate all of us have been. Swami, I have had many dreams across the years, starting from 1999, and always at those moments of my life when I'm standing at crossroads, I really don't know what to do and how to solve a problem, invariably he'll come into one of my dreams. I'll just mention 2 or 3 dreams because we have just limited time and I don't want to hold on. This was in 2011 January. Swami came in my dream, and it was a big, huge playground. I remember a kind of a stadium, and there was a lot of construction activity going on there. Lot of dust and people with helmets and those construction lifts, etc. were there. And Swami got onto one construction lift, and he asked me to get onto the lift along with him. Now, these lifts are very huge, and they don't have any sort of, they are not enclosed. So I got onto the lift with him, and the lift started moving upwards. And I got very scared, and I told Swami, as it is, I'm so scared of heights. And on top of it, everything was open. So I told Swami, I'm getting very scared. So with a wave of his hand, the whole construction lift got covered in like a glass cubicle. There was, I still remember that there was a glass ceiling and there were glass walls. And he told me, look down. So when I looked down, there were so many people I could see. And then he said, all those people, amongst those who do my work, I will give them a cabin like this. I did not understand what it meant. Until today, I don't understand what it means. Is it that when we do Swami's work, are we surrounded by his love? Are we surrounded by his mercy? I don't know. But I know this much, that doing Swami's work is a reward in itself. And whenever we involve ourselves in a seva activity, it is not that we are doing it for God. We are doing it for our own transformation. And in turn, we are also negating so many of our karmic effects and also adding on to our good karma, like a reservoir from which we can draw in our times of need. This was one such dream. And then this was in January 2011. 4 months after that, Swami gave up his mortal coil. And at that time, this dream came back into my mind. And I was wondering, was this a sign that Swami was saying that he was, since the lift was going up? So I thought, was this an indication he was giving me? But nobody in the wildest of our dreams at that time could ever even think along these lines. Anyway, on 24th of April, when Swami gave up his mortal coils, and then everybody was rushing towards Puttaparthi, my husband also left. And to pay our last respects, I did not go because I think I didn't have the courage to be able to see Swami like that. Anyway, after my husband left, I felt very miserable. I felt very bad that this was such a chance I could have gone and seen Swami. And it was just a fleeting thought, but yes, causing me untold unhappiness. And that evening, when I was just sitting and just thinking and talking to Swami along these lines, that same night I got a dream again. And in this, Swami was coming from the Yajur Mandir. He came towards the Kulwant Hall where the ladies we sit there. He made me get up. He held my finger and he took me to this place next to his chair in the Kulwant Hall. And he told me, look down. So when I looked down, I saw Swami lying down there. And when I turned around to ask him, he said, turn again. And I saw mounds of vibhuti. It was a mound like this. Mounds of vibhuti on him. And I said, Swami, you're getting choked. And when I turned around, Swami wasn't there. And the dream ended. And the next day, I came to know that was the same place where Swami's Mahasamadhi now rests. And he was put to final rest by doing Vibhuti Abhishekam. And this scene was shown to me even before it had happened there. So again, he proved that when you talk to him, he's always responding. It's not that, we have to see him physically all the time. We see air, we are breathing in air. We don't see air, but we feel it. It is the same with Swami. He is there. We cannot see him, but we can feel him and we can sense him. Another such, then we had some interviews. We had a series of interviews with Swami in the year 2006. And during one such interview, I remember He was in the Yajur Mandir early morning. He had called us around 4 o'clock, and me and my sister, we took a little time to reach there because of our children who were very, very young at the time. They had to be taken off from their beds and dressed up, and then we had to run to Yajur Mandir. And everybody else had come there. The other part of my family had already reached there, and then Swami turned around and told my mother, "Your daughter's bahut wait karata ma." So this was one side, and when we reached, and then Swami was smiling at us so naughtily. And later, my mother told us, "This is what Swami said about both of you." So this was a human side of Swami, and we could get so easily carried away by this. That no, he cannot be God. If he's talking, if he's saying this, how can he be God? But that is where the delusion comes. We need to realize that yes, he behaves like a human being, as we have read in so many of the books. He behaves like one, so that we are not scared of him, so that we can bond with him. And even in another interview like this, I told him about my father's heart problem. My father had had 2 angioplasties, and the doctors had told him that you will be requiring a bypass very soon. And that also in a separate dream, Swami had come and told me, which I won't be telling now because of lack of time. So in the interview room, I told Swami about my father's heart problem, and very sweetly, very gently, he rubbed my father's chest in 3 circular motion, and he said, "It is not heart problem, it is gas problem. Go for walks in the evening." That was 2006, and now we are sitting in 2021. My father has not had this problem. And I'll just end it here by another what Swami had told us directly. He had told my mother in one of the interviews, now they are settled in Puttaparthi. Earlier they were in Jamshedpur. So they wanted to come and settle there after my father retired. And it was a big, long story. And then Swami told my mother, "You wanted to come to Puttaparthi and stay here. 2 saal bahut Mahabharat hua. But tum Sairam bola ma, so I changed your destiny." This is the power of Naam Smaran. If God himself is telling us that, look, if you take my name, I can change your destiny. Sorry for that. What more do we want? We keep reading in books. We keep reading his teachings. But himself, he is saying this. You take my name and I will change your destiny. So this was my short journey. I have cut it very short because of the lack of time. And Sai Ram.